The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. We got a trade in the NFL. George Pickens will discuss it. College football's top dogs, or should we say cats, and rookie fantasy impact. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. A little earlier in the day than normal, but schedules demanded it. And so we're here to talk football with you. We're presented today by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code STOVE15 to get 15% off your purchase. Well, everybody, I'm Vince Stover. I'm joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good here in Ohio. And, of course, a lot of sports going on and everywhere, so a lot to keep up with. But like I said, football is going here again. And, before we get together with everybody next time, we'll know the schedule and everything be taken off in the NFL. And like I said, college football will be picking up here pretty quick. So lot of sports going on.
Yeah, so a few things to kind of get out of the way, I guess. So I have been diving deep into the fantasy world here this week, preparing for an upcoming show, the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show, coming in June. And I'll be joining the Belly Up crew for that this year. And so putting a lot of work into rankings, preseason rankings. If you go to bellyupsports.com, you can find those. We've got the top 30 rookies up there right now for dynasty drafts. We've also got just today, Brian posted his quarterback rankings for dynasty. So right now it's all dynasty related fantasy stuff. And then this summer we'll get into other rankings and things as well. Then for this show, I've been working on interviews, Dad. I have got some emails out to one ACC school and one Big 12 school, Big 10 school as well, to see if we can get some coaches on for some interviews. So as that pans out or does not, I guess we'll see. But if it pans out, we'll have some pretty cool interviews coming up in the near future as well. But we're going to get things started today talking about the NFL news and things going out there. And obviously the biggest news of the week has been the trade between Dallas and Pittsburgh. George Pickens, there's a lot of rumors before the draft that he was going to end up in Green Bay. I did not want that to happen. He's a talented receiver, but boy, he's a head case. And so he goes to Dallas, and well, if you're a head case, why not go to Dallas? So George Pickens joins the crew, an incredibly talented offense right now down there in Dallas. But I'm not sure that dynamic could work. CeeDee Lamb's phenomenal, one of the top receivers in the league. Pickens wants to be one of the top receivers in the league, but Dad, again, I just don't see his locker room fit in any team, honestly, right now. And so listen, talent-wise, I think it's a great pickup for Dallas, locker room-wise, but Dallas is already kind of a circus. So I don't know. I think, again, talent is there. So what are your thoughts on the trade Pickens going to Dallas?
Well, like I said, it makes sense because Dallas is a place that, takes in guys like that. From there, of course, they have a new coach now, so we'll see how they handle that. But the owner doesn't have problems of bringing in guys like that. And he is very talented. But like you said, their locker room's already interesting. I don't see that doesn't look like that would be a good fit locker room wise. He does, he's a lot of talent. And if Dak Prescott can stay healthy this year, boy, that gives him another really good receiver if they can make that work with everybody from there. So we will see. Again, it didn't surprise me if he's going to get traded and he goes to Dallas or a place like that. Like I said, I'm glad he didn't come to Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay would have ever considered him just for the locker room reason, but we will see. So anyhow, but yeah, Pickens is a really good player, and we'll see how that goes in Dallas. So Dallas will be interesting this year because they're in a good division now. For years, that's been a weak division, but now there's at least two teams that are well above them. So, if they don't keep up with things, it'll be tough on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty close between Dallas and Washington as the second and third teams in the division if everyone's healthy. That being said, there's Washington's looking like they can rise to dominance as well. So we'll see where it breaks out in the division. We'll talk about that obviously as we get closer to the season as well. But we'll see if it works out for George Pickens there in Dallas. A couple other things of note going on in the NFL this week. Gabe Davis does not catch on in Jacksonville. There for a season gone. Did not work out for him. I always thought he was a little overrated anyhow. He had success in Buffalo, but I just didn't see him as that elite guy. I see him as a solid number 3 and maybe even a number 2. I'm pretty low on Gabe Davis, so not super surprised by that. Jacksonville cuts him. Panthers make some moves today as well. Jadeveon Clowney back in the free agent market. He gets released by Carolina. And Jonathan Brooks, the running back drafted last season, injured, and they're saying he's going to miss the whole season this year now with the ACL injury. So we will not see Jonathan Brooks this season in Carolina. They add back to Jadeveon Clowney. This is a guy who came into the league. He got a big pop because of the big play in college where he makes this massive hit, forces the fumble. Everything's great. Gets drafted high. He plays well, but never really that guy. He was never the elite guy. You talk about Garrett there and Cleveland became that guy, but Clowney was always just kind of I would say above average, but never great so far in the NFL. And now for these last couple of years, he's just kind of been an afterthought every team he's been at. And if I'm sure the Panthers are cutting him for more than just talent reasons. I don't know if it's a paycheck issue. I don't know if it's a locker room issue or whatever. You would think Carolina could use Jadeveon Clowney. So I don't know your thoughts on Clowney and kind of, hitting his ceiling very early on in his NFL career.
Yeah, I think Clowney has always been a really good player. You're right. I don't know that he's ever been the guy with a team, but he was always better than average, and I think always made a difference on the defense as long as he was healthy there. He's getting older now, so his talent has diminished some. I think, again, on the right team and the right place, probably you can still get some value out of him. But Carolina seems like they're going in the right direction and they're trying to reorganize. They're not, they know they need to rebuild. And so, they're headed that way. I think they'll be given a little bit of time to do that. Whether they're in the right division to do that or not, it's probably not a bad place altogether.
True.
So, well, we will see. But I think, again, restructuring, if they're restructuring and rebuilding, then they need to get leadership from other guys. And we'll just see how that goes. So, that's probably a good move on their part. And I think Clowney could hook on with somebody and maybe still be a help, for another year or so. But he's coming to the end of his career, I think, for sure.
I think, yeah. So a couple things. Carolina, of course, drafted 2 edge rushers, second and third round of this year's draft. So maybe it's just as simple as they want to make sure they get all the snaps. I don't know. If you've ever watched Moneyball, sometimes the GM can make moves to make sure the guys that he drafted, the guys that he brought in, get the opportunity to be on the field. That being said, Clowney, it makes sense for Clowney to end up in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, one of those kind of teams that's already talented, already good, maybe a Super Bowl opportunity, but he can go and be a number 3 or number 4 guy on that team and give him a little bit of, he's always been really solid in the run defense, and his pass rushing just has never been what it was made out to be. So I don't know. I look at teams like that. I look at teams like also the Chargers, I think, and the Rams. Those 2 teams too would be teams that would make sense for Jadeveon Clowney to end up in. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe Dallas. We talked about them already tonight. Another team. Why not? Throw them in there. And teams that have the willingness to do that kind of a thing. as well. So yeah, we'll see. We got the NFL news will slow down a little bit here over the next couple months. We'll get a sprinkling of things here and there. We'll see how many people get arrested, those kinds of things over the next couple months before camp really kicks into full gear as well. And we'll keep you up to date on all those NFL things also. All right, Dad, let's transition a little bit to college football. So after the draft was done, I waited a few days and then I put out my top 50 for 2026. I have the big board rolling early, and it really got me, investigating, researching into the college football landscape for this year. Then I went and began doing my research for what we will be doing, our college football conference previews that we'll be doing here before too long as well. Started working on those. And I just kind of kept seeing this thing that just I couldn't get out of my mind, is the fact that Clemson is going to be stinking good this year. So you look at the big board, and I've got 4 Clemson Tigers in my top 18. 3 of those are on the defensive side. The other one is the quarterback. So I'm sitting here looking through. Alabama's got some, obviously some good players. Ohio State has good players. Penn State is coming back, pretty much fully loaded as well. For the most part, we've got some Lenoris Sellers, the quarterback out of South Carolina. I've got pretty high on my board. We've got several quarterbacks, 4 in the top 50. So there's a lot of talent coming out in this draft. When I started looking at it, and I've got TJ Parker, the edge, Peter Woods, the lineman, defensive lineman for Clemson. Then I've got the quarterback, Cade Klubnik, and then the cornerback, Avion Terrell. So 4 Clemson Tigers in my top 18. And you look at the ACC, and they're really not that strong of a conference these days. And I go, my goodness, I think Clemson, they're probably going to be projected to be an 11-win team this year. I've not looked at the over-unders yet for this season in college football, but everything I see points to Clemson being back this season. A lot of veterans, a lot of guys who've been there, and that's one thing Dabo Swinney has done. He has worked hard. He really has done very little in the portal, and most of it has still been recruit and then keep them, build them, and equip them to be what they can be. So it's been a while since Clemson has been an elite team, but it looks like this year might be another year for Clemson.
Yes, it does. And, again, we like Dabo Swinney and I like Clemson, and that would be good because he, everybody has to use the portal and do that, but he's been one of the coaches that's been a little more outspoken. There was a lot of criticism of him last year that, sure, he's not playing ball like everybody needs to, so he's not going to be successful. But, he recruits a certain type of player, and there's those players out there that want that type of atmosphere and everything. And so, interesting. You've got 3 defensive guys there. And of course, we like the new defensive coordinator. You've had him on the show before. I think that'll be a real help there at Clemson also. So I'd be all for Clemson being good. And like you said, at the ACC, there's a good chance, to do really well there. So, it'll be interesting as we get more into things. And we'll see how college football, if they do put some guardrails on things as far as, the NIL and stuff like that. If not, there can, maybe a lot of changing around all the way down the line up till the season starts here, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, what President Trump put together a group of people. I believe that Coach Saban's pretty involved in this as far as getting in on the college football, trying to figure out how to regulate or how to fix some of the things that are going. And we'll see. It'll be really, really interesting. You mentioned Tom Allen coming over from Penn State to be the DC at Clemson. He was head coach at Indiana. Then he was DC at Penn State. Then now at Clemson. And, there's a lot of really intriguing coordinator hires this offseason for college. We got some big names in some big places. We'll talk about that as we get into our previews later on. But, some intriguing stuff. I was reminded Rich Rodriguez, hired again at West Virginia. He's back as the head coach. Scott Frost is back in a familiar place too after Nebraska didn't work out. So there's some intriguing coaching hires this year. And Tom Allen coming over to Clemson's a big one. What he can do for that defense. Probably, I would anticipate them being the best defense they've had since the Venables days, for sure. So we'll see. Tom Allen's had a lot of success. He just got done coaching Abdul Carter for a year, and that turned out pretty good. So we'll see how things work out for the Clemson Tigers. And I think Georgia's going to be really good, and Texas is ideally going to be really good with Arch Manning in at quarterback. But I think as opposed to the top dogs, I think we're going to be talking about top cats and the Tigers this year of Clemson leading the way. It's an early bold prediction for you. Clemson Tigers as your 2025 college football champions, or 26, however that works out, I suppose.
Well, when you talk about coaches in college too, I mean, you can't forget the elephant in the room, which is Bill Belichick, and brought in his NFL staff with him as far as assistant coaches is concerned. So it may take a year or two, but it's going to be be very interesting. I think he will definitely have success. And again, he's in the ACC also, so that may help him.
You said it may take a year or two, Dad. It may only last a year or two. Bill Belichick in the college ranks. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. I just cannot imagine he's going to put in the work that it takes for a college football coach to succeed. And my guess is if he can have one decent season at North Carolina, he can get a job in the NFL again. I will be shocked if Bill Belichick is in North Carolina for longer than 2 years. But we'll talk about that when we get to our ACC preview coming up as well. Let's see here. By the way, on my big board for 2026, I've got Caden Proctor, the tackle out of Alabama, as my number one prospect. Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State, at number 2. And then the Clemson boys, TJ Parker and Peter Woods. And to round out the top 5, Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, there as well. You can check out our social media page at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram, and you can see the rest of the 2026 top 50 there on our social media pages. Quick rundown on the quarterbacks, though, Dad. I've got Lenoris Sanders as QB1. He's number 6 on my list. Garrett Nussmeier as QB2, number 9 on my list out of LSU. He was my number 4 quarterback coming into the draft this year until he decided to stay in college. So I think he has the potential to jump up to number 1, possibly. I've got Drew Aller as QB3 from Penn State. He's at number 11 on my list. Again, a lot of talk about some teams really, really liking him. I think it was wise for him to go back to school. But again, a lot of potential. That Penn State offense has a lot of veteran presence. 2 really good running backs there as well. Decent offensive line. So Drew Aller has a real opportunity this season as well. And then QB4 is Cade Klubnik from Clemson. I've got him at number 15 on my list. There's a lot of guys that think he'll be the number 1 draft pick. I'm going to need to see some consistency out of him first before I'm willing to put him there. I think there's potential for sure. Then the other quarterback that made my top 50 was Sam Leavitt. He's at number 45, the Arizona State quarterback. And again, a lot of games under his belt, a lot of potential there for him this season as well. So, yep, if you want to see all of them, you can see them on the social media at Sports Stove. They had one Vanderbilt player made my top 50, by the way.
I saw that, and he's supposed to be really good. So as I was researching a little bit for this, I saw a list of Big Ten quarterbacks, and that list had the Illinois quarterback as the number 1 quarterback in the conference. Now, I don't know that he'll be a pro quarterback, but we will see from there. And that was not an Illinois list either. I know that's what you're going to say, but.
Well, that's intriguing. Luke Altmaier is who you're talking about. He does return. He's back again, so he was already there, not a transfer quarterback. He had a good season last year. And for what it's worth, Illinois added some big pieces as well. They got, I think, 5 or 6 kids from Wisconsin, from the University of Wisconsin, transferred in. Of course, coach has a little bit of tie there as well. But intriguing team. We're going to look at them. I've got them sitting at number 5 on my Big Ten rankings, but we'll see. Definitely a lot of the Big Ten is going to be, again, as we expect always, is going to be very, very good. And there are some quarterback questions, though, in the Big Ten. So we'll see. We'll get there. We're going to talk a lot of college football in the coming months as well. All right, Dad, we are going to go to our last segment of the day. We're going to talk rookie fantasy impacts. Dad, we even have a little intro for this one because this year, especially once the season starts up, we're going to be talking occasional fantasy football, and we're going to try to make it a segment. And so, as a segment, here we go, the Fantasy Focus. All right, here we go. We're going to talk fantasy football again. Go to bellyupsports.com. Go to fantasy football there. You're going to see rankings are dropping. Quarterback rankings for Dynasty went out Thursday. Running back rankings are coming out Saturday. Wide receiver rankings Monday, and tight end rankings on Wednesday, dropping out this week. So make sure you check it out there. And then go ahead and get over wherever you listen to podcasts and search up the Belly Up Fantasy Live podcast. You're going to find the football podcast there. You can subscribe to it now. And always, of course, on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel where the content will be as well. All right, Dad, we're looking at rookie fantasy impact. So these are rookies that we think will have an impact in fantasy football, a big impact in fantasy football this season as rookies. And just a couple of draft, Dad. I think we have to start with running backs because I think that when you look at Ashton Genty, he has to be top of the list of rookie impact guys, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, I think Genty can have a real impact there in Vegas. I mean, if he stays healthy, he will be the running back. And lately we've seen rookie running backs coming in and having a big impact in year one. So I would think definitely he will.
Yeah, I think when you look at the running back situation for rookies, he's the most obvious one because he was the first one taken. He's in a situation where he's clearly the number 1 running back, no question. And there's not a whole lot of receiving talent outside of the tight end position in Vegas. So when I look at that, I just go, they're going to use him in the pass game. They're going to use him in the run game. Pete Carroll has always used his running backs well. And so he's the obvious one. I do think, though, he's not the only one. Omarion Hampton for the Chargers. Again, Jim Harbaugh runs the football. Yes, they have Najee Harris, but I think Hampton's going to get a major load this year. Then I'll give you a few other ones, and then I'll let you talk, Dad. Travion Henderson in New England, I think, is a great fit. Ramondre Stevenson had his fumble issues last year. Henderson's going to come in, new coaching staff. They got their guy in Travion Henderson, and he is going to be on the field a lot as a rookie. Quinshon Judkins in Cleveland, I think, will have a big impact. RJ Harvey in Denver, a massive impact. You feel like I'm just naming them all. And then Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh is the other one that I think is going to be the most effective this year, running back wise for rookies. Your thoughts on the other rookie running backs?
Yeah, I think Hampton, like you said, could, because teams like to use 2 running backs, and with Harris, it's a good fit to have a second guy. And the other guy that really stuck out to me, like you said, was Henderson. I think New England's a good spot for him from there. We'll see. I did notice the guy at Denver, I think a possibility. I had Johnson down on my list too, but we'll just have to see as we get closer to the season. But I think Henderson has a great opportunity. Hampton does. And Genty, like you said, if he can learn to catch the ball out of the backfield, which I think he's already pretty good at that, then that he should be a guy that you'll look at in fantasy.
Yeah, and I'm all in on Caleb Johnson. By the way, to me, he's the guy I'm going for. Not first, I'm hoping to get value with him, but I think Caleb Johnson's going to be really successful in Pittsburgh, and really looking forward to him. There are other guys that have potential, but to me, those are the running backs worth looking at. Receivers, on the other hand, it's a little thinner in my opinion. There are guys who are going to get points throughout the season, but to me, there's less, impact guys at wide receiver. I think we got to start with Travis Hunter in Jacksonville. That one makes a whole lot of sense. Dad, the other one for me is Luther Burden in Chicago. I think the fit with Dunze there in Chicago, and they got the tight ends now too, is going to open things up for Luther Burden. He is, in my opinion, we're going to discuss this on the very first episode of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show. I would take Luther Burden over Dunze this year in fantasy football. I think he's going to have a massive impact there. Let's see here. Those really are my two guys receiver wise. They're really good receivers. I love Jaden Higgins. I hope that he goes off this year. I hope he has a massive impact. But I think in year one, he is going to score fantasy points, but he's not going to be a major impact piece. Magbuka, another guy I love, but in Tampa, I'm not sure that he's going to get those points. And then, Dad, I'm assuming you're going to bring up Matthew Golden. So I'll let you go there first. If you're not, then we'll talk about him. But for me, Travis Hunter and Luther Burden are really the two receivers and Ted McMillan in Carolina. They just don't have anybody else to throw the football to, in my opinion. So I think Ted McMillan will get a lot of targets this year too. So 3 receivers, in my opinion, that'll have big fantasy impacts this year.
Well, I think, Hunter, like you said, that's the one you start with. I do think McCarty in Carolina, I think he'll have some impact because he's the main guy to throw to there. Higgins, I think, again, has real potential. There is some good receivers in Houston, so we'll see how that spreads around. From there, another guy that when studying for the draft is kind of interesting is Williams from New England, from Washington State.
Williams.
I don't know that they have a lot of other receivers there in New England, so he might catch on and get a lot of opportunity. Since we're just talking fantasy, the Packers that's always tough with fantasy because they got so many receivers and they're going to spread things around. Fantasy-wise, they're going to throw to the tight end this year or tight ends from there. And then they'll throw to some wide receivers. But as far as it's always tough to know who the major fantasy impact is going to be. So I think Golden will have a great impact on the offense. Fantasy-wise, we'll have to see. The same way with Williams, their 3rd-round draft pick. He'll be a great gadget guy, but as far as a major fantasy part, we won't know until we get into that a little bit. But I think Williams in New England has possibilities. Burden at Chicago, again, it's hard for me not to be prejudiced. I don't think there'll be big things with him. Again, I think if DJ Moore is not the main guy, then you're going to have all kinds of squawking and protests and stuff like that. And so we'll just see we'll see how that goes. Again, a new coach may be able to straighten that out. And, Burden does have talent, so we'll see.
All right. There's a lot to unpack there. Kyle Williams in New England. I'm not near as big on him as everyone else is. And I'm the only person I've seen that's not big on him. So you may be right on Kyle Williams. I am not bought into him just yet. We will see. You're right, though. Your argument is correct. There's no one else to throw the football to. So that makes sense for sure. Green Bay, I'm glad you said it. You said with Chicago, it's hard for you to not be biased. With Green Bay, I figured you'd be biased as well. I agree with you. I will not draft a Packer wide receiver. And I know you're different than me on that. You will, but yes. I will not draft one because you just don't know which one on which day is going to hit. They all hit at different days. And so until then is what it is, right? Got to figure it out. So I'm scared of them fantasy wise, long-term. If you're in dynasty leagues, totally different story. Matthew Golden long-term. Yes. Cause things are going to thin out in Green Bay very, very soon. We'll see which receivers get shipped off, which ones don't make it, all that kind of stuff. I think the 2 guys drafted this year, Golden and Savion Williams, long-term are going to be really good in Green Bay. Short-term this year, I'm just not sure that it's going to be great for him. Dad, I'll go back to Chicago again. You look at the situation. You got Ben Johnson in there. He's going to run the football. There's no doubt about that. But when you look at when defenses have to guard somebody, because you and I give the credit in Detroit to the coordinators, not to the head coach. And so Ben Johnson comes to Chicago. We have to anticipate Chicago's offense is going to be better than what it's been. So they've got their quarterback. They've got 3 good receivers. They've got 2 good tight ends. That's a lot of people to cover. And the defenses are going to have to figure it out. Depending on how they use Luther Burden, for sure will be an issue. I think I like Roma Dunse. I think he's going to be good. And I think Colston Loveland has a lot of potential too. And Cole Kmet, they've never used him properly. But again, new coach. We'll see how that works out. That being said, I'm still big on Luther Burden. And he's kind of, again, a guy fantasy-wise that I'm looking to take advantage of. All right, let's go to, let's see here. What do we got next? Let's go quarterbacks. Dad, I think this season, Tyler Shuck in New Orleans has the most potential. Cam Ward, I guess you have to put in there, but I'm still not, I don't know. Maybe Cam Ward. I'm probably not drafting Cam Ward in a redraft league, in a dynasty league, sure, but not in a redraft league. But to me, Tyler Shuck's going to start in New Orleans. He's going to play the most. He's going to have the most opportunity, but I don't like any of these rookie quarterbacks for fantasy this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't see any, as the season goes on, you get middle of the year and, somebody is, you need a backup quarterback on a bye week or something. Somebody may be doing well, but I wouldn't think there'd be any drafted early. At least we won't. We can hope somebody in our league will draft somebody
Right.
early. That'd be great, but I don't think it'll be us.
Yeah, well, we are in one league with multiple Titans fans. So you got to know Cam Ward's going off the board.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with these rookies. I think we could look at sophomores. That's a whole nother conversation. Maybe we'll look at that next week. I think of Michael Penix in particular. That'll be an intriguing one. So we'll see. Tight ends, Dad, I love the rookie tight end class. Tyler Warren in Indianapolis, Colston Loveland in Chicago. I'm again, fantasy-wise, I'm not as big on Colston Loveland because of the other weapons around, but I think he's going to be effective. I think they're going to use him. Again, you look at Sam Laporta in Detroit and what they've done with him when he's been healthy. I think, generally speaking, that's what you can expect out of Colston Loveland because of the offense and the way it'll play out. So there you go. Good fantasy value there. Tyler Warren as well. Arroyo in Seattle. He's got a little bit of competition, but I think he gets used early and often. Harold Fannin in Cleveland, a little bit of competition with Njoku, but I think there's potential there for him as well. My favorite dark horse, I don't even think it's a dark horse, Mason Taylor at the Jets. Justin Fields is going to love him, some Mason Taylor. He's going to play a lot and early as well. I really like the tight ends in this class, Dad, and I'm pretty comfortable with pretty much any of them. Tyler Warren would still be number one in my book.
Yeah, the tight end class was really good. Again, when you look at fantasy, you have to look at the team and how they use tight ends, and we'll know that. But like you've always said, if you have a young quarterback, then a tight end, is usually his best friend. So I would think Warren, should easily do good. I agree with you about Taylor. He's the other guy I had marked as I think he's in the right spot. They're going to need people there. Be good. I also think the guy at Miami could have a good opportunity there. He was ranked fairly high, and we'll see how that goes. But all things being equal, I think Warren and Taylor are the two best to look at. Loveland's really good. Again, we'll just see, how they use everybody and how that works there. So
when you say the guy at Miami, are you talking about the guy from Miami or the guy drafted by Miami?
I believe I'm thinking the guy drafted by Miami in the later round.
No, I think no.
I may be wrong.
Arroyo's from Miami, drafted by Seattle. Yes.
There we go. Okay. I'm sorry about that. I just had that wrong. But I think, again, even with Seattle, I think he's got potential to play some. So
Yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure. I think those top 5 drafted tight ends are going to be guys worth drafting in leagues for sure. So we're going to continue this throughout the year. We'll be having some fantasy topics on there. I think next time we probably will look at some sophomores and what to expect from them, because the sophomore quarterbacks especially Some of them had big years this year. Some of them had down years. Some of them didn't have any years. So we're gonna look at that very soon as well. Again, check out bellyupsports.com for more fantasy football coverage as well. All right, Dad, anything else you want to cover before we head out tonight?
No, and like I said, I think people are going to really enjoy this football show, because once we get going, you have pro football, you have fantasy football, which everybody's involved in, and we've been involved in fantasy football for a long time. So, I think we can give some insight there from that end, and same way with college football. Being in different areas here in Ohio, I see a lot of Ohio State. So like when you listed Downs as the number 2 player, he's really good. I've seen him a lot. So I think it's going to be a great football show this football season. And of course, football is always so exciting.
For sure. So we'll keep you updated. We are going to be starting our college conference preview shows very, very soon and get you ready for college football. We'll be sprinkling in NFL stuff throughout the summer as well. And like Dad said, fantasy football stuff also. All right. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove. That's Twitter and Instagram. And again, check out Righteous Felon Jerky at righteousfelon.com. If you use the promo code STOVE15, that's STOVE15, you get 15% off your purchase. And this weekend is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Make sure you give your mother something and thank her for being your mom. All right, that's it for today's program. We will be back hopefully next week. Dad, we are making a trip up to Green Bay this summer, so we'll have some fun content following that, hopefully. Yep. And like I said, got some interview requests out for hopefully the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how that shakes out as well. So if you follow us on social media, you'll figure it all out from there. All right, friends, thanks for tuning into this edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.